Good morning, everyone. So asking questions is what we do here, not claiming to have any answers, but it's all part of our journey. So welcome, very happy you came. And also very happy that the children did half my sermon. That was great. So I thought it was so inspiring. They should do this every year. It should be like a nativity play, like within a regular Christian church. They have a nativity play every year, and the children all participate. And so we should do this every year. And it's really significant, really important way in which children can start to become involved in our tradition and begin to think about these things and understand these things. So I'm really happy that you did that. And thank you. Yeah, I do every year. They're all looking after themselves now, are they? You obviously got them well trained. Okay, so it is up. Oh, okay. So it's got a little reading here. If a prince is born to a kingdom, then the whole nation wants to hear the news of that one birth. When the prince cries out as he's born, the news spreads throughout the entire kingdom, and all the people shout with joy. Of course, that's how it should have been when Jesus was born. But of course, there was only the shepherds and a few wise men, and a few other people who recognized that and were shouting with joy. Do you think that when the first children were born, first Adam and Eve, that all heaven and earth responded or not? All things knew that their masters were finally born. The entire universe focused its attention on the new masters, not only the physical world, but God and the entire spiritual world as well. Their creation was actually the birth of one prince and one princess of the entire universe, and that day was truly a day of celebration. What change came to the life of God with that event? Sometimes we think God is unchanging, but it's interesting what Father says. At that particular moment, God experienced parental love because for the first time he had a child. Even though he'd already had the concept of parental love, God had no way to experience it until Adam and Eve were born. Does a mother with a baby still inside her womb experience stimulating joy and love for her child? The difference in experience between the first moments prior to the birth and then afterwards is miles apart. God created all things with the ability to perceive his joy, but man was the first thing which God created to receive joy by a response to his love. God wanted to manifest his love in creation, but response to that love can only come from man. We conclude that God created all things as his objects to stimulate his joy. Joy is the purpose of God's creation. Just like any parent prepares beforehand for the birth of a child, God prepared for Adam and Eve. He created all nature merely as preparation for the sake of his child. Once those children were born and could appreciate all things, God could also appreciate them. In other words, by seeing his own children really appreciating the things he made, God could receive added joy. It's like, you buy a toy for a child, but when you see the child actually playing with it, you experience even more joy. So that then was how, that then was the birthday of Adam and Eve. How God felt at that time, how the whole universe felt at that time. So I thought Peter's song about creation, what was it? Oh. That's right, fitted in with that very well, how the whole of creation rejoiced when Adam and Eve were born. So how do you think God feels about Adam and Eve today? Same feeling. So do we celebrate Adam and Eve's birthday? For God, this is the most momentous, life-changing experience he had ever had. But do we celebrate Adam and Eve's birthday? Do you think we should? Okay, well, actually, within the Christian church, the Catholic Church, especially in Eastern Europe, they celebrate Adam and Eve's birthday. It's on the 21st, and it's Christmas, obviously. You celebrate the birthday of Jesus Christ. You celebrate that on Christmas Day. But Catholics and Orthodox also celebrate the birth of Adam and Eve on Christmas Eve, on the 24th of December. Interesting. Okay. And so that actually, along with, you had the nativity play there, they also have a nativity play connected on the day before, connected to, and it's called a Paradise Play. And it's reenactment of the creation of Adam and Eve, a reenactment of the creation of the universe. And of course, within that, there was the tree of life. And so that was the paradise tree. And so the Christmas tree that we have, that originally comes from the paradise tree, which is part of the Paradise Play, which is what Christians would perform on Christmas Eve. You're a Catholic country? No. Anybody here from a Catholic background? Did you ever remember that or hear about that? Sorry? Yeah, it's sort of, as I said, Eastern European and Orthodox. They would celebrate this. I don't know if they're still celebrating it, but certainly they were for a very, very long time. And so it was always connecting by celebrating the birthday of Adam and Eve. Then they would, the following day, be celebrating the birthday of Jesus, and they'd be connecting the two together, that Jesus came as the second Adam. And so, but also, as I said, recognizing and celebrating the birth of Adam and Eve. And so they would have lots of special kind of food, apples especially, apples on the tree, and bread would also be hanging apples on the tree, hanging little wafers on the tree representing the communion as well, and connecting the two together. So I have an Adam and Eve cake or pudding is made of apples. So I thought that was really interesting, this idea of celebrating the birth of Adam and Eve. And they think about, and within the Christian church, they are actually saints in the Catholic Church. Because the understanding here is they repented, and when Jesus, after the crucifixion, then Jesus went down into hell, and the first two people who he brought out of hell, who are waiting to be taken out, were Adam and Eve, and you can see them here. This is a typical icon. There's Adam there on the left and Eve there on the right. I think I've got it the right way around. Being taken out of hell, the first two who were taken out of hell by Jesus and taken up into be with him in paradise. Anyway, so that's the way it was within the European Christian tradition. When Luther came along, then you had this a very different perspective of Adam and Eve, and always talking down about Adam and Eve, that they failed and they did this and this, and they're in hell. But that's very much a Lutheran kind of perspective, which is something, unfortunately, I would say, we've also inherited within our own spiritual community. And then also within the Jewish tradition, as I wrote about in my little newsletter briefly, Rosh Hashanah, that's New Year, Jewish New Year. I think they have 3 or 4 different New Years within the year, so it's quite good. This is more like, anyway, this one's calculated from the day when Adam and Eve, the creation of the universe and the birth of Adam and Eve. And so Rosh Hashanah, they also celebrate the birthday of Adam and Eve. And they celebrate this because Adam and Eve are the ancestors of all human beings. So who's the father of faith of the Jewish people? It's Abraham, and more substantially Moses. But they don't celebrate the birthday of Abraham or Moses, but they do celebrate the birthday of Adam and Eve. And you might wonder, why do you think that's the case? Why is it important to celebrate the birthday of Adam and Eve? As opposed to just celebrating the birthday of your own founder. Yeah, it's for everybody. So this emphasizes, we're celebrating the birthday of Adam and Eve, the ancestors of all human beings. So in that sense, you're recognizing all human beings are members of one family. Yeah? That's really important. And this then guards against nationalism, racism, exclusivism. So the Jews, they see themselves as God's chosen people, Yeah, but they're chosen for a mission. And it's very easy to think, oh, we're God's chosen people, therefore we're better than everybody else. We are God's children in that sense. But by starting the Bible, Abraham started it actually with Adam and Eve. Yeah. So by celebrating the birthday of Adam and Eve, they're celebrating the fact that all human beings are members of God's family. Whether you're Jewish or you're a Gentile, you're still a human being and you're still God's son or God's daughter. Does that make sense? Whereas if you just start your calendar somewhere else, then it's just, oh, we're special, we're the inside people, you're the outside people. And you get that within some religions. So it's very important, these kind of things, to remember we're all descended from Adam and Eve, so we're all ultimately children of God. And I think about this sometimes within our own spiritual community. There's always a danger. What do we talk about? I can't even remember the language now. Outside people? What? I can't remember. My I lost most of my brain cells. I'm going to lose another 10% quite soon. What? The danger. Yeah, it's dangerous to think of that. Our children, or second gen, we call it, are special in some sense. But actually, at the end of the day, every single human being, without exception, is a son or daughter of God. I remember once when I was teaching in Hamburg, somebody, asked me, do you think it's important to have children that are second gen? If you can't have any children, do you think it's important to have children that are second gen? And I said, no. I said, if you want to have children, you can't have your own children. There are lots of children in orphanages who would love to be adopted and have parents. This is the reality. God, through having children, whether you adopted them or you have them your own, then you're developing a parental heart. And so I think it's really important people to realize that, every single human being deserves to have children, deserves to have parents. Yeah. And so, I think it's very good, for people to adopt children. Anyway, so as we celebrate the birthday of true parents, I think we should also, which we've done, which Kyoko took that part of my sermon, great. And as we celebrate the birthday of true parents, I think we should remember also Adam and Eve, who were God's first love, and Jesus too. So Father often talks, over and over again, Father talks about Adam and Eve, how much God loved Adam and Eve, how lovely Adam and Eve were, how perfect they were. In his early speeches, that's all he does. He talks about the wonder of Adam and Eve. And I think we should really recognize that and not be so down upon them, because they're our ancestors. We are all descended from them. And we should all celebrate them. So we're celebrating true parents' father's 100th birthday. Then next week, in my family are celebrating my mother's 100th birthday. She's in the spirit world now. So I prepared a little slide presentation, from when she, working backwards actually, from, the family, our family today, and then, well, that's me, where did I come from? Well, that's my parents. That's my mum. Where does she come from? She comes from there. And just working way backwards. So my own children, my grandchildren, I'm going to introduce my grandchildren to my great-grandparents, spanning 7 generations. So I'm going to introduce, that's right, next Wednesday I'm going to introduce my children to my parents, to my grandparents, and to my great-grandparents. That's my grandchildren. I think it's important then you can understand where you've come from. And so in the same way, we spend a lot of time teaching about biblical history. And we should celebrate these people. Yeah? Celebrate true parents. We celebrate the birth of Jesus at Christmas. At Easter, we don't celebrate or remember Easter in the same way Christians do, because we have a very different understanding, but also it's something really important to remember and to recognize these kind of days. And I also think, really we ought to recognize Exodus. And it's all part. These stories are part of our history. And I think we should also start to recognize these things, and that's what you call a tradition. And I think we need to, build up these kind of days so we can have these like little plays, and we can have some way in which we can recognize these events which have taken place in the past in God's providence. Because that's basically what all religions do. All religious festivals are recognizing and celebrating something that took place in the past, and to make it alive again. So it doesn't become history, it becomes memory, which I think I talked about once before. It becomes something which is living. Yeah. Okay, I don't know how much wisdom I got out of me there, but I think it's really important to do these things. Okay, so it's just a short sermon because I'm sure we all want to enjoy the rest of the day and enjoy the lunch and the celebration. So thank you all very much. God bless you.